Hi there, everybody. Peter Greenberg here. Welcome to a new year, 2023, our first global travel update for the new year. Guess where we are? We're in Baja California in Cabo San Lucas, coming to you live from the Nobu Hotel right here on the beach. It's a great location, and I wish I could be somewhere else other than here right now, but I'm happy to be with you, of course. Lots of stuff to talk about in the news. Let's start with Southwest Airlines and the continuing fallout from that debacle and meltdown. We all know what happened. We all know why it happened. Now the question is, how is Southwest Airlines going to recover? And that's going to be the interesting point, because the U.S. Department of Transportation has already come in hot. They're basically indicating that they're going to do a stiff enforcement penalty and a fine against Southwest. They're putting the airline on notice that they need to reimburse their passengers for accommodations, for food, for alternate forms of transportation, for clothing and toiletries. After all, their bags never showed up either. And we're starting to hear reports that, Southwest Airlines has posted online that they will do this for passengers. However, we're also getting notifications from some passengers, maybe even you, that the airline's offering people like vouchers or additional frequent flyer miles. How useless is that? That's an insult. At this point, after everything that's gone on, there's only one four-letter word that matters. It starts with a C and ends with H, and it's cash. People need to be made whole for what they had to purchase out of their own pockets. And that includes, by the way, expensive one-way airline tickets on other carriers, hotels that went beyond $100 a night. In many cases, they did. And of course, clothing to be able to just do something for the next 4 days while they were waiting to go absolutely nowhere. So we're going to follow this. Now, let's do the math here. If you estimate that the average payout to passengers for a basic reimbursement for the time that they were basically stranded is going to average about $400 a passenger, and you're dealing with more than 1 million passengers who were disenfranchised, there's a payout right there of $40 million. That doesn't count the lost revenue that Southwest Airlines didn't get and can never recoup from the time they were essentially shut down. And we're not even getting to passenger ill will. So there are some estimates now claiming that Southwest may take a revenue hit of about $500 million. I don't think it'll be that high, but it will be significant, not to count what the DOT may weigh in on a proposed fine. Now, you heard me say the word proposed when it comes to fine, because that's the way the DOT behaves. I'm a little concerned about whether or not that's going to have any lasting impact. Remember, when the DOT finally went after some of the airlines for not giving refunds during the pandemic, and it took them almost 2 years to do it, the fines were minimal and not against the airlines that were the biggest offenders. So it's going to be interesting to see if the DOT really weighs in with that, plus something that everybody's been waiting for a long time, and that's a passenger bill of rights. Now, states can't do that. I can't do that. You can't do that. Congress can do that, and the DOT can do that. And let's see what happens if they can actually come up with a clearly delineated, meaningful, and detailed passenger bill of rights that spells out what the airline's responsibilities are, as well as what your responsibilities are. We've been waiting for that for a long, long time. Now, here we are in the new year. I know that the Southwest issue is not great news, but I have to have a little happy news for you. And remember, I'm in Mexico. And if I'm in Mexico, you know what that means? Mariachis. So I'm going to be joined now by Julio, by Moises, by Hugo, by Natalie, and by Goretti. Come on over here, guys. Yeah. Yes, it's the first time of the new year. It's January. Yeah. So let's do it. Go. I like the dress. Thank you so much. That was Natalie, everybody. Julio and the gang, they'll be back later.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. They're coming back. Don't worry. But we got more stuff we got to talk about. I mentioned happy news. I'm going to give you one more piece of happy news. You may have seen the pieces we've done on a celebrity cruise ship captain named Captain Kate. Her name is Kate McHugh. She was on the Edge. Now she's on another ship called Beyond. A wild story happened this weekend. We've got some video about it. And take a look at the condition of the ship that they rescued. It's an amazing story of a rescue at sea and people being really happy for a change that they actually were found in the middle of the ocean. Let's roll the video.
This afternoon, my Chief Officer Navigation, Nikos, noticed a glimmer on the horizon. When he picked up the binoculars, he saw a boat full of people that looked like it was in distress. We were traveling at 15 knots, so I turned the ship around for a reciprocal course while we gathered all of our resources. Because of the rough sea conditions, I needed to maneuver the ship in order to provide a lee so that we could bring the boat safely alongside the ship. The starboard side shell doors were opened where our security and our sailors were standing by to throw a line to the boat to tie it off. Once the boat was secured, our amazing crew jumped into action. Our sailors, security, housekeeping, HR, engine, medical, food and beverage, and hotel operations team who were on hand to provide warm blankets, a change of clothes, something to eat and drink, a full medical evaluation, and the chance to call home to let their loved ones know that they're okay. We stood by with the ship's position until the U.S. Coast Guard cleared us to proceed on our way. I want to thank the crew of Celebrity Beyond because today, 19 people will be able to see 2023.
Wow. Think about that. Did you see the condition of the ship? I mean, one wrong move in terms of weight balance on that small boat, they would have all gone under. So, Captain Kate, we salute you. Thank you again. Love that video and a great way to start the new year. Now, a little bit later in the program, I asked you earlier in the week to give me your anti-bucket list. Places that you would not, under any circumstances, go in 2023, but you got to tell me why. And also what airline you wouldn't fly in 2023, and you got to tell me why. We'll get to those in a second. Let's go say hello to a couple of people here. Hello from Harriet and Jim in Richmond, Virginia, and Catherine's saying, tuning in from Sodden, Southern California. We know it's raining like you can't believe there. And a Happy New Year to you too. Lorraine is saying, greetings from Michigan. The Facebook technology being able to get alerts doesn't seem to be working their end when you check interested or going, but that's life. Okay. Evelyn's greetings from Denver. Hope you had a good New Year's. We did. We survived. Hello, Gail. Hello from all of our friends in Tanzania. Caroline's saying lack of technology and infrastructure investment has cost Southwest Airlines far more than if they had invested decades ago. Was it worth the short-term savings, Southwest? You're asking a rhetorical question, which we all know the answer to. Hello from Joliet, Illinois. Okay. Sabi, coming in from Tanzania. Again, sad that, who's saying this now? Oh, this is Newbie saying, sad that Southwest didn't heed the warnings of infrastructure revamping. They could have addressed it in the past 2 years. Yep, you're right. Southwest CEO has a potential annual salary of $9 million. That's another issue. We'll get to that in a future show. But right now we're talking operations here. Okay. Gail says, we were one of the victims of the Southwest mess. We missed our cruise that set sail on Monday, 12/26. We were supposed to fly out on Christmas Day. Southwest notified us of a cancellation on Christmas Eve at 10:30 p.m. We could not get another flight out until Wednesday. I'll be interested to see what kind of compensation you're going to get. Keep in mind that under normal contracts of carriage, airlines are really only responsible to getting you from point A to point B and not on your cruise. Now, can there be a class action suit? A number of class action suits have now been filed. Can there be small claims court action under a $7,500 limit? Yes, you can do that too. But remember, you've got to prove the damages in court. Danielle's saying to Natalie, what a gorgeous voice she has. And she does, and she'll be back a little bit later. Besame mucho to you, Caroline. Okay, felicidades to you, Iris. I love this. Hello, Mike. Evelyn saying, como si fuera esta noche la última vez. Okay, I'll take that as a compliment. Victoria said, are you going to do downtown San Lucas? Not today. We're actually at the beach before we have to fly out. Okay, here we go. Gail says, I was always satisfied with previous Southwest flights, but it'll be a long time, if ever, that we will fly them again. We are waiting for the cruise line to decide if we get our money or credit. Yeah, that's the thing we were just talking about, Gail. For all of those people who are out there saying, I'm never going to fly Southwest again, you know, I really question the word never, and I'll tell you why. We are very predictable human beings when it comes to our travel behavior. What motivates us, really? Is it rich Corinthian leather? Is it the Broadway show tunes the flight attendants won't be performing on board? Is it the wine list? Is it the reclining seats that don't recline? No, it's price. And Southwest Airlines, up until recently, at least in my experience, has always been a dependable, efficient airline. They only flew one kind of equipment. They only trained their pilots on one kind of equipment. Their mechanics on how to repair one kind of equipment. Their spare parts inventory made sense. They didn't nickel and dime their passengers. They didn't charge for checked bags, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They were giving you flight credits for unused flights way before the other airlines had to change their tunes on so-called non-refundable tickets. But here's what I think. In the short term, are they going to get a kick? In the you-know-what? It's already happened. But in the long term, people are motivated by price. And if Southwest Airlines can keep the prices down and keep the efficiency back up, it will not be a long time before a lot of passengers return. That's my prediction, because that's our behavior. Okay. Okay, here we go. Let's go for a second. Here's one from Jeff. I'm flying to Auckland next week for a cruise to Fiji. They require a negative COVID test within 72 hours, which can be self-administered with proof, including a photo of the result. You know what? Don't do the self-administered test. Just get it done and have a regular lab stamp on it, right? You don't want to get all the way there to find out that nobody believes what Herman said, okay? Now, let's go to the anti-bucket list things that you guys came up with. Interestingly enough, and not surprising, a lot of you voted you weren't ever going to go to Russia based on what's going on in the Ukraine. We're not surprised about that. Karen Smith said, Machu Picchu, not going to Machu Picchu because it's overrun with tourists. Let me talk about areas that are overrun with tourists. We can talk about Venice and Barcelona and the Taj Mahal and the Great Wall of China and the pyramids in Egypt. We can go all the way down that list. They've always been overrun. So here's what you need to do. It's the time of the year you go and the time of day that you go. I'm a big believer in getting up at 3:30 in the morning. And all of my friends who used to whine and bitch about that are thanking me now. I did that in Beijing. I did that with the Great Wall. I did that at the Taj. I did that in Giza for the pyramids. I did that in Machu Picchu. Meaning, pay no attention to what the rules say. Get your driver to take you out there. We just did it in Alula in Saudi Arabia, where we left the hotel at 4:30 in the morning and we were the only ones there at Elephant Rock for the dawn. We had that moment. I had that moment at the Great Wall. I had that moment in the pyramids. I had that moment at Taj. I had that moment in Machu Picchu. So that's really my advice on that. Okay, Pat says she will never travel to Saudi Arabia, speaking of Saudi Arabia, because of their lack of women's rights. And never to Dubai, no reason to travel there to shop or see a tall building with artificial islands. I'm sure Dubai Tourism will be happy to hear you say that, but I understand what you're saying. Okay, very interesting from Gary. He says, I will never fly on airlines without interline agreements. Now, what's an interline agreement? It applies to your ticket and it applies to your bags. They used to exist with all the airlines, and one by one they've been falling apart. But what an interline agreement means is that if I'm on a United Airlines flight, and for whatever reason the plane cancels, it's delayed, and the only other flight out is on Delta, I can do something called Rule 240. It's now mostly known as Rule 1-2020, and the airline will endorse my ticket over to the other carrier, and they will, assuming they have space, and they'll fly me out. But one by one, airlines have been getting rid of those agreements. They don't want to spend the money because the revenue goes to the other carrier, as you can imagine. And the one airline of note that has never had those interline agreements is Southwest. So if you were flying on a Southwest ticket, which I presume Gary was, and the airline wasn't flying, you weren't flying because there was no way to take that ticket over to another carrier other than buying another ticket, which gets back into all the compensation issues we're dealing with reimbursement now after the fact. But I understand what you're saying. Okay. Lisa says, I'm not going to Europe in 2023. Cost of flights is so outrageous for a family. Was able to book a round-trip domestic flight using points for a trip this summer. I avoid United at all costs. There's always a delay for some reason out of O'Hare. Well, the good news about being a delay out of O'Hare is at least the airline can recover quickly because that's where they're based. Just thought I'd mention that. Okay. Karen saying human rights issues again. That would be Russia and other countries as well. Okay. Let's see. Venezuela, that was Linda saying she's not going. Russia, North Korea, and the Middle East, not interested. Okay, but you haven't told me why. Remember, you got to tell me why. You know, the word never is a little problematic for me, which is why I asked that question for you guys. You know, there are only 4 countries in the world I wouldn't go to, and that number may change. But those 4 countries are where I can determine that no one is in control. Think about that. Remember the famous scene in Apocalypse Now where Martin Sheen comes up river in the middle of a firefight and the bullets are flying everywhere, and he says to one of the GIs, who's in control here? And the guy goes, nobody. That's the most terrifying moment in the movie for me. And that's the most terrifying moment in my movie of travel in terms of where I decide to go. So think about this. Where would I not go? Remember I said, where nobody's in control. So where would that be? Parts of Yemen, parts of Chechnya, right? Syria, maybe Camden, New Jersey. Just kidding, Camden. But you get the picture. So don't rule out everything all the time inevitably or in perpetuity. It doesn't serve you well. Okay. Sharon Madison says, I love this. She says she's never going to go to Belgium. Who's picking Belgium? Well, she has her reasons. Never due to the history of atrocities committed by Leopold in Africa that have never been truly acknowledged. I get it. But how do you get it acknowledged? Travel is a powerful force to knock down barriers and bridge understanding. And short of me singing Kumbaya at this time, which I'm not going to do, I would ask you, Sharon, to reconsider. If more people went there and engaged in conversations, you might get that well-deserved acknowledgement that the world needs to hear. Okay, we've got more. I mean, unbelievable. Oh, Valerie says, I will never fly Aerolíneas Argentinas. It's the world's worst airline. You can't call them and they don't issue refunds. I only have 2 words for that, having my experiences with Aerolíneas Argentinas. Por supuesto. Okay, more Russia. Okay, Sean says, remember, I'm coming to you today from Cabo San Lucas. Sean says he's never going to Mexico. It's a lawless land. Corrupt government and corrupt law enforcement. Americans should avoid it at all costs. Can I tell you how many Americans are here right now? Having a great time, relaxing, not worried about their safety because they don't have to. And that would include me. Now, I know what you're going to say. All the drug gang violence. But let's be honest. The drug gang violence is against other drug gangs, right? And you know how many Americans have been killed by acts of drug gang violence in the last 12 years? You want me to tell you? 12. And you know who the 12 were? They were vacationing American drug dealers. Okay, so you do the math. Now, am I telling you not to be concerned or aware of your surroundings? Whether you're in Cabo San Lucas or Cleveland, of course. But that shouldn't stop you from coming. So there you go. We'll come back to more of these a little bit later because we've got other things to talk about. Okay, Jill saying hi from Montana. Caroline saying hello from the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Okay. Iris says, I'm in tears of joy for that rescue by celebrity. Me too. It was if they hadn't spotted that boat, and it's very difficult to see that boat from a cruise ship. Trust me, when you're out there miles away, those people would be dead. That's no doubt about it. One rogue little wave, they were going under. An overloaded boat in the middle of the ocean, doesn't stand a chance. Hey, Rob New, my buddy from Colorado. Happy and healthy New Year to you as well, Mr. Rob. And I hope to see you soon in Denver. I'll be there at the end of February, so we'll have to rendezvous. Okay, everybody's saying beautiful song from Natalie. Okay, okay. Gail's asking an interesting point. Actually, Catherine's bringing it up for Gail. How many of you bought your trip on Southwest Airlines with a credit card? Almost all of you did. Many credit card companies have insurance provisions that if you buy the trip with a credit card, you will get compensation for a delayed flight or lost bag or a canceled flight. You need to check with your credit card company directly, okay? By the way, that's not going to give you all the money back, but it's an additional claim you can file. And there's no law against filing multiple claims to multiple people where you have standing, right? Keep in mind one other reason that you need to do that. There is currently no federal law or a mandate requiring the airline to reimburse you. Southwest is doing that now under intense governmental pressure, not to mention the whole world saw what happened. It wasn't just their flight to Sheboygan that got delayed. And no, Southwest doesn't fly to Sheboygan, but you know what I'm saying. Okay. Okay. Everybody's saying kudos to celebrity. Absolutely. Okay. So Harriet and Jim saying they're not going to go to China right now until they straighten out their COVID protocols. They haven't straightened them out yet. They keep doing 180-degree turns every day. It's crazy. Hey, Sue saying hi from Bellingham, Washington. Colleen saying I'm flying Southwest from San Francisco to Santa Ana or actually Orange County, I should say, on January 17th. That's coming up. I recognize they had some issues. Yeah, I think we all recognize. I've never once had an issue, and it's been a pleasant experience as well. My guess is by January 17th, which is about, 12 days from now, you'll be okay on Southwest. Weather notwithstanding, we never know. But in terms of operational issues, I think it'll be okay. Camilla, hello to you from Tucson. Let me go down here. Okay. Sue is saying, I'm thinking about going to Dubai and the Maldives on the same trip. Any tips? Well, it's a great way to go because Emirates, Etihad, even Qatar fly from their home cities to the Maldives. It's an easy connection. And what you should do is, if you're going to go to Dubai, stay for a couple of days, then continue on to Maldives, and then do the whole trip on the way back, just with a connection back in either Dubai or in Abu Dhabi. Okay, here we go. Almandariz wants to know, what's my choice for travel insurance? That's an entire show. Because remember, there are 3 or 4 different types of travel insurance. There's trip cancellation and interruption insurance. There's basic flight insurance, which you should never get, hardly ever even sold anymore. But the one you always have to have is medical evacuation and repatriation insurance. That's a big deal. And if you go to our website, petergreenberg.com, we've done many stories about it and happy to share that with you as to my advice. Okay. Hello from hot and hotter Boynton Beach. Hello, Debbie. Okay. All right. Evelyn says, never say never. I agree. I think that was the title of a James Bond movie. Okay, Donna says, I just came back this fall from South Korea, and that was definitely out of my comfort zone, and I totally loved it. And you were the one who told me to get out of your comfort zone. All right, Donna. And by the way, I love South Korea. And by the way, a number of you have voted not to go to North Korea. I've been there twice, right? And you know it's the one thing that's going to save North Korea? Very simple. It's travel and tourism. And don't think for a minute that little Kim is not developing his infrastructure as we speak, because that's the only way in the long run he's going to be able to feed his people and grow his economy, right? So stay tuned on that one. Okay, Sue says, I will not fly Allegiant. Worse service and hard seats. They won't even give you water and they're always late. Well, with all due respect, whoever called Allegiant an airline? They're like a travel club. They don't have frequency. They don't fly to a lot of major cities, and they don't, of course, no interline agreements, and they have a problem with their on-time performance. You heard my story about the bag last week, or the bags, where an entire flight arrived. This had nothing to do with weather, without bags. So that's interesting. Okay. Michael says, hey, I live 5 minutes from Camden, New Jersey. Be careful, Michael. No, it's okay. I've been to Camden, New Jersey. Got nothing to worry about. Just having some fun here. Okay. Okay. Mike Lukens wants me to sing Kumbaya. Ain't gonna happen. But the group will be back. Okay. Jeff Keith, after last night in Congress, I couldn't agree more. He says, I'll never travel to Washington, D.C. No one's in control. Yep, you got that right. Okay. All right. Sue says, I love Cabo, been there 3 times. Lots of reasons to love Cabo. Okay, what do we have here? Debbie says, Belgium, look what we did to Hawaii. Didn't know the history until I visited Hawaii. Yeah, if you dig down deep enough, there's some bad stuff going around in every state and in every country, history that needs to be revisited so it doesn't get repeated. And the only way you do that, at least in my book, is by going there and engaging in conversations and learning and then sharing what you've learned with other people. So mahalo or mahalo, depending on which colonial government wants to express those words. And Sue says, I even went by myself once to Cabo. You're so brave, Sue. Okay. Ivan says, when do you suggest to buy airline tickets from Chicago to Las Vegas for an April 23 weekend? Any suggestions for affordable lodging in Las Vegas? Well, when in April? I don't have my calendar here. I don't know when Easter hits or spring break. You got to do it around that. Otherwise, Las Vegas will be close to 100%. Okay. Okay, hello from Tampa. Nice to hear from you guys. My dear friend is in Puerto Vallarta, my home away from home. I love it. Hello from Houston, Texas. I used to live in Houston. Hello, Robinson. Happy New Year from Patrick Cooney, who posts pictures on Facebook every day in different outfits. I have no idea where he is or what he's doing, but I'm always entertained by it. Patrick, keep it up. Okay, Evelyn saying, I'm flying Southwest January 15th. What are your thoughts? Well, you haven't told me where you're going yet, right? You haven't given me an opportunity to give you a plan B. Okay, Adrian saying hi from Huntington Beach. Okay. Mike says, make sure you don't fly to China on Southwest. That would be an interesting story I'd like to report. Okay, here we go. Okay, oh, Donna says, I have no wishes to go to the Middle East, but you never know. I will never say never. Good idea, Donna. Angie says, my stepson traveled Air Canada from Raleigh to Toronto and to Edmonton, and both ways they lost his luggage. By the way, they did that to me on Air Canada this past summer in Halifax and Toronto. 2 days later, they did deliver the bags to him in Edmonton. Back to Raleigh, they were lost again. And, here's the other problem. If an airline loses your bag, and it can happen, in fact, it does happen, and you have to fill out all those stupid forms, they never give you the phone number to their baggage office because they don't want you to have it. What they do is they subcontract out the delivery service to some guy named Vern in a 1967 Ford Econoline van who may stop along the way at a few bars, if you know what I mean. You need to get the airlines to prioritize you on the list, and don't leave that counter without getting that done. The minute you leave the counter, you're dependent on Vern. I rest my case. And if you're watching me and your name is Vern, I meant no harm by that. Vern. Okay. Barbara wants to know, where will I not travel in 2023 and why? Well, I gave you that list. Other than that, we're going to be traveling all over the world. We did more than 45 destinations last year, reporting for CBS News, CBS Radio, and of course my shows on PBS and Amazon Prime, and we're doing it again this year, so stay tuned. A couple of places that might surprise you. Okay. Michael just said he bought a flight from Rome to Seville for $55. Go get him, Michael. But remember, that's just the flight. Luggage is extra, and if you want that glass of water, get an estimate now. Okay. Someone's heading to the Turks in April for the first time. You're going to have a great time. And if you get there, don't just hang out in Providenciales. Go to one of the other islands and go to a place called Mama's Bakery. But you got to get there about 8 o'clock in the morning before she runs out. You're going to see an amazing bakery, and bring back some bread for me. Okay. Here we go. Mike Lucan says, you're more likely to get shot in Cabo than Camden. I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't count on it. unless, you're bringing drugs down here, Mike. And if you are, hey, you're going by yourself. Okay. I'm curious why you say Southwest should be okay shortly. I was talking about Southwest will be okay shortly in terms of basic operations. They're not going to be okay shortly if they don't fix their systems. Because if another weather front comes in or another disruption, they're going to be right back where they started again. Okay? So no, they've got to invest in that infrastructure and those new IT systems now. That's at least 9 months to a year away. Just remember that. Okay. Robert's going to Malaga in Spain in November. Have I been? I have. I love it. But if you can, and if you can deal with Spanish drivers, rent a car, look where you are in Malaga, and look at all the places you can go using Malaga as a hub. April says, I still am a fan of Southwest. We need to push for a passenger bill of rights, and we need to take note, don't check a bag. You know what I've always said? I've said it for 10 years. There are only two kinds of airline bags, carry-on and lost. Right? Well, what just happened over the Christmas holiday prove it. Okay. Now, let me talk about the photo of the week before we run out of time. It's a good one. It's coming from one of our regulars, Jew, who says, I wanted to share this beautiful sunset. Guess where it was? Do we have the photo coming up? Okay. In Norway. It's in Oslo. The sunsets in Oslo in the summer are unbelievable, and I'm glad you shared that with us. If you think you've got a photo that qualifies as the photo of the week, don't hesitate to send it in, peter@petergreenberg.com. If we like it, like we liked Drew's photograph, we'll post it right here on our global travel update. Of course, you can always write me, peter@petergreenberg.com, with your questions. If we miss you today, don't forget our radio show airs this Saturday, coming from a surprise destination, which I think you'll find interesting. And that's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Check your local listings. And if you can't find a market, not a problem. We stream it live on our website, starting at about 10:05 Eastern, and you get to hear the whole show. So I hope you get a chance to do that. And of course, Royal Tour Tanzania, airing all over the country on PBS stations, as well as Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. You know what? It's time for more happiness. It's time for more happiness. I'm going to go through a few more questions here, and then the mariachis will join us again. Irene says, I just flew into Greenville, South Carolina on Southwest. The flight was on time, and the staff couldn't be more apologetic. I love stories like that. Bob says, I've never been on a cruise and don't plan on it. Wow, you're missing out on some. Remember, you don't have to be on the 8,000 passenger cruise, Bob. There are some smaller ships that will take you to places that the bigger ships can't go to, and you need to be on that. You'll and not to mention the river cruises, right? Okay. Mike Lucan says the $55 ticket is the wheel well. Attention all stowaways. Okay. All right. Here we go. I'm looking for some more here. And, that's right. I should tell everybody, a week from this Saturday, I will be speaking in Chicago at the big travel and adventure show in Chicago. So check local announcements about that. Happy to come see you guys, and happy for you to come see me and answer your questions in person. Okay, I'm looking at, Mary Bliss says, is there a hidden Paris? I've seen a lot of the famous stuff. Of course there's a hidden Paris, and we're going to be doing that as one of our PBS shows later this year. All right, now, one more thing before we end, on a sort of sad and emotional note. Last Friday we lost a legend in the broadcasting and news business, and that was Barbara Walters. You've seen so many of the tributes, so well deserved, so many of the people emoting about their experiences with Barbara and what she meant to them. The word trailblazer was used, and not inappropriately. She led the way for so many people to be on television, and let's show this picture. She did it for me as well. Barbara brought me on The View back in 2004, and I did the show until she retired. It was such a pleasure to work with such a professional. She allowed me to be myself, like I'm being with you today, but I wouldn't be talking to you today if it hadn't been for Barbara having me on The View. And so I just wanted to mention that as joining so many others in paying tribute to a legend whose likes, again, we will not see in our lifetime. So I just thought I'd mention that. And now I'm going to bring back Soy Mexico. Come on, guys. Natalie, you got so many comments about your song. Oh, they're getting ready. So let's close it out here from the Nobu Hotel here in Cabo San Lucas, right here on the beach with Soy Mexico. Julio, let's do it.
There you go. Guadalajara, Guadalajara. Guadalajara, Guadalajara. Tienes el alma de provinciana, huesa limpio, raza temprana. A ver, dejara fresca del río, son mis palomas, tu caserío. Guadalajara, Guadalajara, huele esa pura tierra mojada. ¡Arriba! Guadalajara hermosa, quiero decirte una cosa, tú que conservas agua del pozo de tus mujeres, el fiel rebozo. Guadalajara, Guadalajara, eres el alma más mexicana. Ay, 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 ay.
I love it. Only in Cabo San Lucas can you get a mariachi band singing Guadalajara. But a great way to end it. We'll see you on Saturday on the radio. You know where to reach me, Peter at petergreenberg.com. Check out our shows on PBS, Amazon, and Apple TV Plus. And we'll see you next week, guys. Everybody be safe. And let's say we can fly on time for a change. I'll see you next week.